Hey, how's it going, fam? Michael back here again. In case you wonder, I have been away for the last 11 days or so because I have been doing some work/personal travel. But anyways, I'm back at home now, and so there is all kinds of things for us to jump into. And I think the very first thing that I want to just quickly talk about is this decision by PlayStation to remove physical disc for new games over here in 2028. Now, right after they delivered that horrible news, we got more horrible news, and that was that they're going to be shutting down the PlayStation 3 and the PlayStation Vita stores, so you won't be able to purchase any new games from either of those storefronts. This comes off of some other news of Sony removing a ton of movies from people's accounts. And well, they've been blasted online since July the 1st. Now today is July the 7th when I'm recording this, but I will say they have had lots of pushback. And so you would think, okay, they have been silent for all this time. Again, today is July the 7th. Maybe now they're going to write something back to the community after delivering this devastating news. And what we saw was just another ad for another product. So, wow, that feels really tone deaf to me for PlayStation, which is obviously something that I care so much for and that I've spent a lot of money on. And so, yeah, this just feels really out of touch as the next post in a 6-day social media exit. And obviously, even in these, the fans are just ripping them apart. So, Domino's, which is great, placement for them, give us physical disc. Yeah, it's just horrible. And even the other post that has come out since then, it's also just like horrible. People canceling their subscriptions to PlayStation Plus, which I obviously don't have because I don't think there's any value in that. But anyways, to each their own. I don't really know what's next for Sony. I guess they're just going to continue pretending like none of this even existed. And maybe they'll just get away with it, which I'm sure they're going to be doing just fine. But yeah, we're going to have to wait and see on that one. Now, let's jump into some more of the PlayStation Homebrew news. So next up, I want to go to the system software update that was released for the PlayStation 5, and this brings us all the way up to 13.42. Now, with 13.42, they stated here in the release notes that we've improved system software performance and stability, which is basically them saying nothing, which we get often from them. Now, from time to time, we will see ones that will say something like, for security, etc. But yeah, not in this one right here, just the same standard message. Now, we do know that Gajina does have a private exploit, and we have learned that that is still working over on the very latest firmware, as we can see over here from EchoStretch, where it shows PlayStation 5 firmware 13.42 running kstuff-lite 1.09, which does require a kernel exploit in order to execute. So anyways, it looks like a couple in the development scene are playing around on a 13.42 PlayStation 5, fully jailbroken. So maybe they'll be able to do something with having access to these latest systems. So anyways, I thought this would be kind of cool to point out. So will it see the light of day? Yeah, absolutely. Eventually it will be disclosed. Now, next up, I did want to post this one, and that is that those that has been looking for a Nomadic DNS server setting and looking for a replacement for it, it looks like here is the IP address that you can use. Now, I am not aware of anything happening with Nomadic's DNS, but I would just treat this more as here's an alternative DNS that you can use. And this is by EarthOnion, so anyways, it is another very trusted developer that is in the scene. Now, next up, I wanted to talk about the ntfargo CSSFontFace-Exploit that I covered over here on YouTube right before I went to break. And so if we go back over to the project page here, the one thing I did want to note is that there was a correction to the max exploitable firmware in here. And so when I showed you this, I believe it went up to 11.40, and it has been fixed since then. So if we come over here to the commits and we go to the commits, we can see it was actually at 11.50 here. So anyways, if you do want to check this out, again, I do have a video on where I just locally self-hosted it and just played around with it. But anyways, I just wanted to call that out. Next up, I did want to share this other GitHub project that I saw, and this one was PS5 debugger, which it states over here in the about, PS5 debugger payload, userland TCP wire protocol server. And if we scroll down into this, you can see it gives you a graphical user interface. So I thought this was pretty neat because you can search, filter through the different processes. You can see which ones are running over here. You can go to the memory viewer and punch in an address if you would like to. And yeah, there's just a couple of more options in here. So anyways, I always like including these types of tools in these roundups, as I find that somebody always gets something kind of out of it. So anyways, go ahead and check this out if you would like to do so. So let's jump over to another item here, and that is Victorious has released a version 1.27 just a couple of days ago. So this one's showing right at 2 days ago, and I have noted that they stated that they're working on version 1.28, which might be out by the time you even watch this video. But over here in the changelog, what we can see is that they fixed the pipeline runner crashing after trying to run any payload after poopsploit, given full support of the ISO to users who have an unpatched BD-J on firmwares 8 to 12.00. Looks like they incorporated some of the latest poopsploits updates that has made that more faster and stable. The elf loader got bumped up to version 0.23, and then a couple of different poopsploit pipelines, and then kstuff obviously getting that to the latest version, elf arsenal, the web server, and a few more things. So anyways, there is obviously a couple of tutorials that you can check out here if you want to, and I'll probably be making a new tutorial on this with 1.27. So the next item that I wanted to talk about was that we had some pretty big news in the Linux scene. And so in this post here, we saw that the flow said the PS5 Linux community is growing and people have now added drivers for the Ethernet, the Blu-ray disk drive, Bluetooth, and more. And the best news is that it is coming to firmware's 7.61, which is great because it would mean that these PlayStation 5 Slims would be available to work as well. So anyways, that is really nice. And we saw, just a little bit before that where PS5 Linux was now available on 5.50 and 6.00 and 6.02. And so anyways, if we head over into the project page, what we can see over here in PS5-Linux and then PS5-Linux-Loader is that there has been quite a bit of movement. So just 2 days ago, 7.40 support was added, and then 2.3 gave us 6.50 and 7.20 support. And then of course, last week was where 7.61 was added to it. So yeah, the number just keeps growing and growing and growing. And anyways, if you want to check out how to do this, I obviously have a video that will walk you step by step. Now, one thing that I did want to mention in this is that if you go over to that PS5-Linux and PS5-Linux-image, what you can find here is a Linux image builder. And so if we scroll down into this, what this states is it builds bootable Linux USB images for the PlayStation 5 using Docker containers. And so pretty much you can go ahead and pick your distribution. So here is them generating an Ubuntu 26.04 image. And yeah, it's pretty neat how you could build each one of these. So yeah, there's Fedora, and then of course how to get that to a USB drive, and even some options that you can pass through the parameters. So yeah, definitely one of the easier ways to build one of those images if you just want to try it out for a little bit. Next up, I do want to mention the brand new version of kstuff-lite 1.09 that EchoStretch released just 4 short days ago. And what we can see in this is that he states that fixed the disable ASLR on 11.x and 12.x. And thanks to this person, Pharaoh2K, for helping them. Now, what was more interesting in this is the previous version, which just came out last week. It's always kind of funny how fast the scene moves. But in last week, with the 1.08 beta, what they stated here was they had in the changelog hook int3 IDT hook syscalls individually and small miscellaneous changes by idlesource, and that this removes practically all slowdown of the syscalls and the need for toggling. So this is obviously that option where you could toggle kstuff and even do it automatically. Now you really won't have to do that anymore, or you should not do that anymore, as kstuff 1.08 has that fixed, as well as kstuff 1.09. So definitely want to update your kstuff versions, as well as you would probably want to come over here and update your ShadowMountPlus as well. So ShadowMountPlus 1.6 beta 16 has dropped here, and we can see in this attempting to restore occupied mount points for a null file system, and then prefer fakelib over fakelib for the directories for game overlays. So the fakelib folder works as before. Now I have not been using this one yet, so I have been back on these older versions. So anyways, I think I might have to give this one a try now and see how well that this is working. And next up, I want to give a quick shout out to Not Major's CheatRunner. So this is pretty much one of the go-to ways to get PlayStation 5 cheats working, and there is just a simple cheatrunner.elf that you can send over to it in order to get started. There's a full guide here if you want to take advantage of this. And so I did want to call out that if you are interested in doing cheats, that they have been adding all kinds of brand new things to this. So anyways, just want to give a quick shout out to them. And the very last thing that I want to leave you with is this PS5 FPKG Builder Pro version 1.00, which has come out. Obviously, like everything else, do be cautious about running any sort of executable, but I've seen this kind of making the rounds. And anyways, if you want to check this out, I hope you do so, and let me know how it is in the comments below. Anyways, I just want to thank each and every one of you for watching the channel, and hopefully you got something out of this. Michael, out!